Hi. Here we are in our second video for business mathematics. Now we're still in the simple interest environment and we will be moving on to solving more things in simple interest. Okay, to start off, let's have this example. So in order to buy a new gadget, Benedict decided to borrow 5,000 pesos at an annual simple interest rate of 5%. After 2 years, how much money does he need to pay? How much money will he pay the lender after 2 years? So let's try to answer this in the old fashioned way, the old fancy way. So let's start with the given. Remembering the GAS that I told you last video, given, ask, solution. Okay, so for the given, let's look at the sentence, and the first number that pops out is 5,000 pesos. So what is that 5,000 pesos? So that is the amount that Benedict decided to borrow in order to buy some new cell phone or something. So that's your P. That's your principal amount. After that, at an annual simple interest rate of 5%, that's very clear that it's the interest rate. And here in the given, I already transferred or translated that into decimal form. Okay, so again, 5% is 0.05 in decimal notation. Okay, and then after that, after 2 years, it is written here in worded form, and we can see the number here in the last part. So after 2 years, that's clearly your t, which is equal to 2. So now what is asked of us? As we can see in the last part of the problem, so how much interest after 2 years, that is, how much interest does he need to pay? So clearly that's the I, that's the interest that we need, that Benedict needs to pay. Now, that's just the interest, that's just the increase from the principal amount, right? That's the interest. Remembering the formula for the interest is I equals PRT. Okay, again, I equals PRT. So we have here a second question. How much money will he pay the lender after 2 years? Okay, so paying the lender the money is not really only the interest, right? So Benedict borrowed this money 5,000. This 5,000 will be increased by that interest. And of course, Benedict, after 2 years, will need to pay that back. Okay, how much will he need to pay back? So let's try to um, think of that in the solutions part. But for now, let's call that the F. Okay, and there's a reason for calling it an F. Okay, F equals something, and I, interest, equals something. So let's get into the solutions. So first question was I equals something. So we know the formula for the I. That's I equals PRT. So let's have our calculators. I have it here. So again, PRT, this is P, this is R, this is T. So we have 5,000 times 0.05 times 2. And what appears in my calculator is 500 pesos. I hope also in your calculator it appears 500 pesos. That's a simple interest rate. Okay, that's just the simple interest rate. And again, like I explained, for the F, the amount that he needs to pay back the lender after 2 years, that's going to be the interest, 500, plus the principal P. So what we're going to do is just to add them. So our F is 5,000 pesos, the principal amount plus the interest gained by the lender for letting his money be borrowed. So that's 5,500. That's the total amount that Benedict needed to pay the lender after 2 years. We call this F because this is also called as your future value. Okay, or in some other books, it's also called accumulated value. And in some other books, they call it the maturity value. But let's just be contented by calling it a future value for now. Anyways, most books use that terminology, so let's just use that for the commonality. Okay, so what is a future value? Let's give the formal definition of it. So a future value, also called accumulated value, and again maturity value for some, the value is the value of the principal P, including all the interest earned at some future time t. So in short, we'll have this future value formula, just simply F equals P plus I. Okay, the interest earned plus the principal. That's your future value. Okay, again, just clearing it up. F is the future value, P is the principal amount, the present value, and I is the interest earned, which we know, which is equal to PRT. Okay, now let's have another example. We're here now in example number 5. Let me read it once. King borrowed 2,500,000, or sorry, 250,000. My goodness, 250,000 from a bank at a simple interest rate of 2% per year. How much interest rate must he pay after 5 years? Now, how much is his debt after 5 years? So we have a pretty similar example as the case before. Let's use the gas method, given ask solution. So what's the given? We have it here. King borrowed this amount, so that's pretty close to the P, your principal amount. And from a bank at a simple interest rate of 2%, that's your R. Make it decimal, please. So 2% is 0.02 in decimal. Okay, and how much interest must you pay after 5 years? Clearly, your T is 5. And what is asked? In the first question, how much interest is must you pay? That's your I. Last sentence or question, how much is his debt? So when you say debt, how much is the amount that he needs to pay after 5 years? So that's going to be your F, your future value, which is just your principal plus the interest earned. Okay. Now let's go for the solution in this part. Again, remembering that I equals PRT to get our I first. So I equals PRT. So just multiply our P times our R times our T. So we have 250,000 times 0.02 times 5. What appears in my calculator is exactly 25,500. That's your simple interest rate. Now, to get your F, add this to 25,000 to your 250,000. You will get 275,000 pesos. So that's the amount that King, um, the total amount of how much will King be paying after 5 years, or we can say that that is his debt for 5 years that he needs to pay. Okay, so that's your simple interest, finding the F, future value. There is some formula that will make things actually simpler in such a way that we don't need to solve individually for the I and then solving the F. Since if you can observe, let me go back a bit. If you can observe, we need to solve the I first, the interest, and then add it to F. So that's two steps, right? But we can do and use a single formula for that actually. So this is the future value made simple formula, shall we say. So your future value at time t, this, we know this as your formula, F equals P plus I. We know that I equals PRT. Let's substitute that for our value. By common monomial factoring, we get the common um, variable P out. And then what we'll have is the simple formula for finding the future value given that you have the present value, the rate, and the time. Okay, F is the future value, P is the principal amount borrowed or being borrowed. R is a simple interest rate, T is time in years. Okay, let's try to see some example using this formula. Okay, suppose you invested 50,000 pesos in a company that gives 15% simple interest per year. So question number one, how much will be your account after 3 years? Number two, how much will be your total interest after 3 years? Okay, so likewise, we can get the number one since we're asked first about the total account, total money in your account. So when you say how much will be will be in your will be in your account. So the amount in the money in your account is your money there. Okay, your money which is already there plus the interest earned in the company. So that's gonna be your future value, right? Your money there, which is already there, plus the interest earned. So let's use the formula that was written. Okay, so this is gonna be one line. There you go. But let's verify this using the calculator, shall we? So F equals P times the quantity of 1 plus RT. So we know that the P is the amount you invested. That's your P. This is your rate, 15%. In decimal, that's 0.15. And this is the time in 3 years. So let's try to use the calculator for that. 2,000. Just to verify. 1 plus 0.15 times 3. And pretty much it will show me this number, 72,500. That's your future value. That's the amount inside your your account after 3 years, given this percent and this and your principal amount. Now, how about your interest? Well, we can use the old-fashioned IPRT, but let's make use of the of another formula so that your mind will be broadened, your horizons will have some extensions. Okay, so we know that um, f is equal to p plus I, right? Okay, the future value is equal to the present value plus your interest. Now let's try to twist the formula. So if f equals p plus I, try to imagine transposing the p to the other side. So we will have this formula here. So I equals f minus p. So how can you get your interest if in such a way that you're given the future value and your principal amount? So by transposition, we can use this formula f minus p. So your amount there minus the interest, of course, the amount which or rather your amount there minus your principal, of course. What is left is your interest earned, right? So let's put this in the calculator minus 50,000, and yeah, even if you won't use the calculator. Why did I? Okay, so 22,500 pesos is your interest earned after 3 years. So that's pretty big amount of money because the R is also pretty big for this company. So it's 15% per year. That's big, given that you have 50,000 pesos as your principal amount. Okay, let's have another word example for this. Okay. Okay, oops, it has the answer already. Um, Nonetheless, let's run this after. Let's run this. So after 5 years, Bruce earned a simple interest of 90,000 pesos. Okay, from a 300,000 pesos investment. What is the annual interest rate of the said investment? So again, after 5 years, that's your T, clearly, that's your T time. Bruce earned a simple interest rate, or rather, a simple interest, it's an interest, 90,000 pesos. So this is your I, clearly, because this is an interest. It's not your principal because it is clearly stated that it is the simple interest earned, 90,000 pesos, your I, from a 300,000 investment, 300,000 investment. That's your investment. So when you invest on something, that's your original amount, but you only earned 20,000 pesos. So this earning is I. This 300,000 is your P because that's the starting amount that you invested in this company. Say after 5 years. Now you're asked, what is the annual interest rate of the said investment? So what's the R, right? So what's the R? So let's go back to the formula of I equals PRT. This one. We will be trying to transpose all the variables except the variable that we need. Again, remember that we need the R. So if we need this variable R here, we need to transpose and transfer the P and the T to the other side of the equation. Is it clear? So we need the R. So we need to isolate the R. So we need to transpose, if that's the word you want, P and T to the other side in such a way that it will be this next line. Okay, so R equals I over PT. That's imagine PT to be in the denominator of I here. So this is exactly what you will have. Okay, that's in the second line. So let's try to solve this using a calculator just to verify. So your I is 90,000. You can see it here from the given divided by 300,000 times 5 years. Okay, so good enough. In my calculator, it shows me 0.06 as our R. And remember, as a special case for R, we need to make it in percent form. Okay, so we need to change, okay, convert the decimal form into a percent form. Why should it be in percent form? Because that's the norm already. So that's going to be used. And in business, we all use the percent sign to indicate interest. Okay, to indicate interest. So it's much clearer for anyone in the business sector. So we have 0.06. You just multiply that by 100 to make it percent form, and don't forget to put the percent symbol, percent sign. Or we can just simply imagine this by moving the decimal point twice going to the right, the complete opposite of converting the percent to decimal. So if we're going to count 1 2, that will be 6%. 6%. So that's your R. Okay, so imagine this formula again. The lesson here in this video is that, and also from the previous example, in the previous example, we can play around with formulas. okay, using some very basic algebra, transposition to be exact. Okay, so we're done with finding the r. I think in this example, we'll be finding the t this time. So here, so the given is already shown. Peter deposited 1,000 pesos today in a bank, providing 3% simple interest per year. He wants to have savings worth 1,450 pesos in the future. If he will not withdraw any amount, how long must he wait? Ooh, okay, so how long? How long must he wait? Okay, so the first money that we can see, Peter deposited 1,000 pesos, so that's the P, the amount originally deposited, and the bank provides 3% simple interest. So that's your R, 3%, converted to decimal, 0.03, no sweat. And he wants to have a savings, meaning he wants his bank account to have this amount, 1,450 pesos, in the future, okay? In the future. Now, he wants that amount exactly. So he wants to have 1,450 as his F, his future amount. The question is, if he will not withdraw anything from that amount, how long must he wait in order to reach this 1,450? And that gives us in our asked, which is the time. Okay, how long must he wait? So again, going back to our formula in I equals PRT, let me show you the complete solution now. So I equals PRT, so we need to isolate the T here since we are asked about the time. So um, transpose the P and R to the other side, that is in in the denominator part of I, so we can see that T equals I over PR. Okay, so clearly from our given, we can see that P exists in our given. This is P. Also R exists in our given. But how about I? Since we do not have an I in our given here, so we find ways to find the value of I. So note that I equals F minus P because we know that F equals P plus I. So using some algebra, we can transpose I equals F minus P. So which is equal to, your F is 1,450, okay, minus your principal, of course, your final amount, your future amount, minus your principal will render you the amount that was earned. That's the interest. So meaning the interest must be 450 pesos. That's your interest. And I think that's very clear to see, right? So you want your amount, you want your money in the bank to have 450, an extra 450. So what could that 450 be? That could that should be the interest, right? So your interest is, we know that it's 450. So using the formula above, we can have 450 divided by 1,000 times 0.03 close parenthesis. So we have, the answer is 15. Okay, so 15 is the answer. So what does that mean? Again, our time is in years. So in order for Peter to gain 450 pesos from his bank account, which he deposited 1,000 pesos only, it will become 1,450 pesos in a span of 15 years. Okay, so in a span of 15 years, you will gain 450 pesos as a interest. Okay. Just take note, it might be small. Why is it so long, sir, that you need to wait 15 years? Sorry, 15 years rather. Sorry, 15 years. Okay, rather. I I think I said minutes. I'm sorry. That should be 15 years. So, you should wait for 15 long years to gain your money, 450 pesos, providing this bank's 3% interest per year. But you want to think, what if this is 1 million? You will have 450,000, okay, interest. What if it is 1 billion? What if it is 1 trillion? So the bigger your principal is, the bigger your present value is, the bigger the interest you will earn. Okay, so don't think that this is too small because your principal is also too small. Okay, so that's the lesson here. Okay, I think this is the good time to end the video now. This is again the part two of our business mathematics set of videos for simple interest. In the next video, we will be starting off with the P, how to find the present value. Okay, so stay with me with this set of video lectures, and I hope you'll subscribe and hit the like button. Well, thank you. See you next time.